So everyone's talking about, the global tech scene, right?
Yeah.
But get ready for something kind of different. Today's deep dive is taking us to India.
India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where, well, you could call it a startup explosion. They're really shaking things up in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing when you start looking at the numbers. Back in 2016, India had about 450 startups.
Okay.
Which is, that's a decent number, but then fast forward to now, 2024, that number's jumped to 128,000.
Wow.
It's insane. That makes India the world's third largest startup ecosystem.
That's huge. And what's really interesting is that, like, this massive growth, it all happened while at the same time India is going through these big economic and tech changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's all connected, right? There's a bigger story here.
Definitely. So what's the story? Like, what really pushed this incredible growth? What fueled this rocket?
Well, it's a lot of things coming together, but one thing that's super interesting is that, this boom, it's not just in one place. It's not just, Bangalore or Mumbai. We're talking about 670 districts across India, all over.
So it's like everywhere, basically.
Everywhere. Entrepreneurs, they're popping up in every corner of the country.
Wow. So they're not just following global trends. They're tackling the problems that are unique to their areas.
Exactly. Hyper-local solutions, creating jobs in places that haven't, traditionally been part of the tech boom. It's about bringing those economic opportunities down to the grassroots level.
That's amazing. Now, I'm really curious about the government's role in all of this. Were they supportive of this whole startup thing, or did they try to, control it?
Okay, well, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because instead of, trying to slow things down, the Indian government actually did a lot to help it grow. They've got these initiatives, right? Startup India, Make in India.
You heard of those, yeah.
Yeah. And those offered things like tax breaks, less regulations. They made it easier to get funding, crucial support.
So they were like, come on in, startups, welcome.
Exactly. And they even created this thing called a fund of funds, which is basically a giant government-backed venture capital fund.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah. And they've put more than 64,000 crore into the startup ecosystem.
How much is that, in dollars?
Well, to put it in perspective, it's almost 1% of India's entire GDP. That's a serious chunk of change dedicated to helping these startups.
That's a huge commitment. No wonder investors from around the world are, paying attention.
No, yeah, absolutely. In the last 5 years alone, Indian startups have gotten more than $100 billion in investments from outside India.
Wow. They're a magnet for all this venture capital money.
That's a great way to put it, a magnet for opportunity.
So with all that money coming in, there must be some pretty incredible success stories coming out of India, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're talking companies like, Byju's, Swiggy, Ola. These are big names now, not just in India, but globally.
Okay, I've heard of those, yeah.
Yeah, Byju's, they're doing amazing things in education. They've got this online learning platform that's super engaging, really changing things up. Swiggy's dominating the food delivery world.
Okay.
And then Ola, they're going head to head with Uber in the ride-sharing space.
That's really cool. So we've got government support, tons of funding, these amazing success stories. But what's the secret sauce? What's really driving this whole thing?
Okay, well, India has this secret weapon, and it's their people. They have a huge workforce, and they're incredibly skilled. We're talking engineers, developers, data scientists, all the people you need to really drive innovation in things like AI, fintech, clean tech, all of it.
So it's not just about the money. It's about the brains behind it.
Exactly. And this talent, it's creating some seriously impressive companies. Look at Freshworks, for example. They're revolutionizing customer service with their cloud-based software.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're doing really well. Or there's Zerodha. They've made stock trading so much more accessible for millions of Indians. These are companies that are showing how Indian innovation is taking on global scale problems.
It sounds like India's startup scene isn't just doing well. It's gonna change the whole global landscape.
Got it. Predictions are showing that India's startup scene could more than double by 2030.
Wow.
That's going to have a huge impact, not just for India's economy, but for its place in the world, shaping the future of technology and entrepreneurship on a global scale.
So it's not just numbers, it's about India stepping onto the world stage in a whole new way.
Yeah, it's a cultural shift, a whole new wave of entrepreneurship that's changing what people think is possible.
This has been an amazing deep dive. It's so clear that India's startup I guess you could call it an explosion. It's not just, some passing trend.
Right.
It's proof of what can happen when you've got innovation, a system that supports it, and a generation of entrepreneurs who aren't afraid to dream big.
It really makes you wonder, what can other countries learn from what India's doing? And how will India's influence, change the world of tech and entrepreneurship in the years to come? It's a pretty incredible story that's just starting to unfold.
Definitely something to think about.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.